So here we are. So what we'll do is we will talk about X-Culture Kids in sort of two big blocks. First, we will talk about the history and the design of the program, so what it is, how it's done, and then we will talk specifically about the promotion of the program. So how we price it, how we advertise it, the challenges we're experiencing. So I will start a little bit with the history of the program itself, and then I will turn it to Frankiv to talk a little bit about the marketing efforts and history that we, of the methods we tried. And then we will leave some time for your questions. So X-Culture Kids is about 2 years old. So we've been experimenting for about 2 years. And it's basically an exact copy of the sort of real X-Culture, the university X-Culture. But there are some differences. So those of you who don't know, X-Culture, the Global Virtual Team Collaboration Project, was launched about 9 years ago. And the initial idea for this project was to present students in international business courses with opportunities to sort of apply in real life, experience in real life, the theories, the concepts that I was trying to teach them in the classroom. So when you teach international business, you often find yourself in a situation where you're explaining to the students that doing business with people from different countries, from Japan, from Ghana, from Ukraine, may be different than doing business with people from the United States. I would tell it to my students, but they look at me and don't quite understand. As I often say, it's as if I'm trying to teach them how to swim on a football field, right? You have to get in the water to learn how to swim. Same thing here, you have to experience international collaboration to understand what international is. And so the project started with a very simple idea that I would find professors in a different country who also teach international business, and we will just put our students on international teams, and they will deal with time zone differences, cultural differences in terms of institutional differences. And so by experiencing that in real life, they will be better learning in the classroom when we talk about this in kind of theoretical concepts. And so the idea was that there would be maybe 2-3 other professors, but it must have been a good idea at the right time because many more responded to my call. So I sent an email through the Academy of International Business, and I think first time when we did it, we had 7 countries participating. Then next time, I think it was 14, if I remember correctly. And then it was more and more and more. And so this semester, for example, we have a total of a little over 5,000 participants. And so we have several groups, as you know. We have the university students. They come from 44 countries, 160 or 70 universities, or 80 even this semester. And so that project is done, or for the university students, it's done as part of a course that they take at their school. But now, from the very beginning, we had requests to allow kids to participate in this project. So the way normally it went was a professor would approach me and say, hey, my students from the university are participating in the project. Can my child participate as well? So he's very smart, or she's very smart, 15 years old, 16 years old, will be going to college in a couple of years. And I think it will be a good experience for the kid. So it will be a good experience, but also it will look good on the resume. So when the child will be applying for scholarships or for admission to a top school, that will help the child. And so for a long time, I was saying no, because, we have a big difference in age here. We have university students. In fact, many of them would be MBA students. So there would be 28, sometimes even 30 something. And then we have here the kids who may be 15, 16 plus or minus. And so that's a big difference. But then at some point we thought, hey, maybe we should try it. Let's see how it goes. And so the first time we did it, I think it was 3-4 semesters ago. And at that time, we only allowed the kids, the children of the professors to participate. So the very first time we did it, I think we had something like 20, 25 kids. And so that was a very small group. And I even enrolled my own children. So I have 2 kids. And at that time, they must have been like 9 and 13 or something like that, and 12. And so just wanted to see how they go through this experience. And actually it worked very well. That first group, I actually liked it very much. So they did well. They learned a lot of new things. To me, it was eye-opening in a sense that it was not only about learning about other cultures, which I thought it would be all about, but it was also learning little things like, for example, how to schedule an appointment. You know, my kids didn't realize that there are different time zones. And if you would like to meet at 9 a.m. your time, for someone in India, it may be 10:30 or 9:30. And for someone in Australia, it will be actually 10 p.m. the next day, right? Or 10 p.m. the same day. And so they were like, oh, that's new. Likewise, I was very surprised to learn that my kids didn't quite know how to communicate online. So they didn't quite have the concept of email, for example. So they always text with their friends, and that's good if you just want to say something funny and something short. But when you are working as a team on a project, you have to write more. You have to explain in detail your thoughts. You have to argue with people. You have to present some sections of the report, and you have to use email, and then obviously Google Docs, Dropbox, those kinds of tools. And my kids didn't even know that they exist. So I don't know about your kids, but my kids didn't really have email accounts. And so it was kind of almost funny, but also very educational. We would sit down and I would say, well, when you're writing an email, you know, you should address people properly. You should write full sentences. You should make spaces between the paragraphs so it's easier to read. And so we did all of that together. And then obviously the same thing when we wrote the report. Again, they didn't really have good writing skills, so I had to explain to them how to do it. So many, you know, positive aspects of this project were not related to culture at all. They were more general kind of business planning, teamwork, communication, leadership, those kinds of things. And I was very, very happy to see that my kids truly enjoyed it. So not only did they like the business part of the project, but they also developed close relationships with the other kids. In fact, sometimes, like literally annoyingly, they would wake up at 6 a.m. To talk to their friends because they did have team members somewhere in Asia, in Europe. And so I was very surprised that they were proactive with that. And so they remembered that there is a meeting. They felt responsible enough to wake up at 6 a.m. because that's the only time that works for the team. So, and then obviously when looking back at the satisfaction evaluations, same things, the kids really, really liked it. And so the second time we did it, we actually had a larger group. So we did a little advertisement, but not much. And then the last two times, so this one and the previous one, we actually tried to do some big advertisements. So we used Facebook, online ads. So we did all kinds of things trying to recruit more people. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the challenges of managing the program and the feature design differences in a few minutes. Well, actually a couple of differences now and then more later, because I want to jump back to marketing because that's the most interesting part as far as your challenge goes. That's where we need your help. But in terms of the design differences, so as said, we've decided to keep this program as similar to the real, you know, student program, adult program, university program as possible. So the kids are on exactly the same schedule. They have the list of exactly the same challenges. They communicate the same way. So everything is basically as real as it gets. We made a few notable exceptions though, a few notable differences. One, the first time we did the project, we actually tried to give kids separate challenges. So the very first time we did it, we had a client, one company was from Colombia and they made chocolate, melada chocolate. And so the challenge was to come up with ideas for basically new recipes for chocolate. And then another company was InnoSpark, a company from Lithuania, and they make educational toys. And again, the question was, if you were to design new toys, what your toys would look like. And then there was a third challenge, we called it the Dream School. And so the kids were asked to design a school of their dreams. So if you could design a school from scratch, what your school would look like, what the building would look like, what would you teach in this school, what kind of children you would try to to attract, how would you select the teachers, how would the class go, and things like that. And it actually went pretty well, but we got a lot of complaints. It went well in the sense that kids liked those challenges, but got a lot of complaints from the kids who said that those challenges are only for kids, and we are serious people, and we would like to work on the challenges that the students, the MBA students, are working on. And so after complaints, receiving a lot of complaints, we decided, hey, you know what, we're going to open up all of the challenges to the kids. If they want to work on a challenge from a company that makes socks or makes oil rigs or whatever else we had there, why not? So let them do that. And so now this semester, you have exactly the same challenges that all of the other students have, and you can choose any company you want. Another very big difference is that unlike university students, the kids come into the program not fully prepared. So the kids, obviously, because they're still young, because they didn't go to university, they didn't take courses in international business. They didn't take courses in leadership. They, in many cases, don't know some of the basics of online collaboration. And so that obviously presents problems. That obviously, creates challenges when it comes for the team, the time comes for the team to work on this challenge. And in fact, it's not even so much because they are kids. We saw the same problem with professionals. So one of the groups of the people that we work with is, we call them professionals. Those would be non-student adults. And so what those are is many friends of the students, university students, who have participated in Xculture. They would come to us and say, hey, can I also participate in the project? I'm not a student, I have a full-time job, but my friend here went, maybe my younger brother here, went through Xculture, told me what it is, and I really like it, and I would like to participate in it because I think it will help me get a promotion, get a new job, or even learn new things that I need for my current job. And so we allow them to participate too, but in many cases, they also are not fully prepared. So they're not necessarily coming from a business background. They could have gotten a degree in, history or geography. And so some of those skills are not quite, or they may be lacking some of the skills needed for an international business challenge. And so what we do with professionals and with kids, unlike with the university students, we ask them to have 4 weeks of preparation training, or basically pre-project training. And so that pre-project training covers several important topics. So there are a number of training modules that they cover, but also serves the purpose of selection. So we cover in week 1, there are a series of training modules on the project itself. So the students are asked to learn how Xculture works, so that when they are placed on teams, they know what to do and what to expect and where to find the deadlines and things like that. Next week, they cover the topic of basically teamwork. So international teamwork, team leadership, team communication, team conflicts, perhaps sometimes cross-cultural conflicts. So everything that they need to know when they work with people from other cultures. Week 3 covers the technical side of online collaboration. So how to use online collaboration tools such as Google Docs, Dropbox, Slack, Trello, Skype, Facebook groups, Viber, WhatsApp, and so on and so on. And then finally, the last week provides like a crash course on international business. Again, students at least need to know the vocabulary and need to know what an entry mode is, what entry modes are available, pros and cons of each, a little bit about international marketing, a little bit about international HR. Now, in addition to training people, preparing them for the challenge, for the project, this 4-week training program also has a very important factor or purpose, which is selection. And so this is extremely important, what I'm going to say now here. So Xculture is a Xculture is a team-based project. And unlike a regular business that just sells something and is after your sort of payments, Xculture is with you for several months. So for example, if you are selling, let's say, for example, smartphones, right? So once the person pays for your phone and you get your money and you give the phone, you sell the phone, you don't really care what happens after. So the person can use this phone as a phone, the person can use this phone as a hammer, the person can put this phone aside and never use it. You as a seller, you don't care because you already got your money and it's now up to the owner of the new phone to decide how to use it. With Xculture, it's different. With Xculture, we have to satisfy not only the person who bought the product, so to speak, but also 6, 7 team members who will be working with this person. So if there is someone who comes to me and says, I would like to participate in your program, I will pay you a lot of money. But then once you place me on a team, I will do nothing. I will not work hard. I will not be respectful to my team. I don't want people like that. So I would much rather that person does not participate than that person kind of buys the program, buys the product from us. Because it's a team-based project and I want everyone to be learning, to be happy from this experience. And so if someone on the team purchases the product but does not use it properly, so to speak, we have a lot of unsatisfied students. And so this 4-week training program is a very good selection tool. Many people would sign up thinking, oh, it would be great for my child to participate, or it would be great for me. But when the time comes to actually do the work, when the time comes to actually show up for team meetings, to write the report, many people say, oh, I didn't realize it's going to be so much work. And so they drop out, and that creates problems for the whole team. So therefore, when we have the 4-week selection process, not only do we pay attention to how well people can answer those questions on the exams, but also whether or not they show up, whether or not they participate, whether or not they attend the webinars. All of that matters. And usually the logic is that if they do participate week after week after week after week, chances are they will also participate well when they will be working in teams. At the same time, if they're missing meetings, if they're not showing up, if they're not doing well on the exams, chances are they will not do well on the teams. And so we have this phase that is both preparation and training. Now, at the end of the project, we also add a reflection phase. Again, and at the university level, not only do students come prepared and have a professor and have a whole course that teaches them how to do X-Culture, but at the end, most of the professors also organize like mini conferences where students would present their work to their peers, sometimes to more students at the university. Sometimes it's a big celebration where they would invite the president of the university, the mayor of the city, so all kinds of dignitaries. So with the X-Culture Academy students, we cannot do that because you're all around the world. So you come from literally dozens and dozens of countries. And so we cannot have that sort of conference live. So what we do is we have then 4 more weeks at the end when you will be writing your reflection papers. Students are writing, what they learned, what they liked, what they did not like, what they would do differently if they had to do a team-based project again, what advice they would give to other participants in a similar project where they have to work in teams. So they're thinking, reflecting, and sort of learning from that experience. And then also we do the presentations. Again, often, and now the program is becoming bigger, we will have to see if we will be able to allow each team to present to the client. And the reason for that is even if you give each team 20 minutes or so, 10 minutes to present, some questions, answers, and then some time to switch the teams, you can imagine that if you have dozens or even hundreds of teams, it may take several days of nonstop presenting. So we'll see how we're going to manage it. Maybe what we'll do is we will ask each team to record a presentation, and then maybe the best presenters will present to the clients. So we'll have to see, but there will be a reflection phase at the end. And so basically that's how the program is designed. And so now I'm going to turn it to Yev Frankiv. So he has been helping us with managing the project in general, but also specifically he's responsible for advertisement. And so I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit more about the advertisement strategy we use, all the way from the beginning, the tools we tried, the tools we now know don't work, maybe why they don't work, and then what we're doing this semester. But importantly, that's where we need your help. So the program is wonderful. People are very, very happy. In fact, they are more happy than, for example, users of iPhones. When you look at evaluations of iPhones on Amazon, there are always a few percent of people who are not happy. In X-Culture, yes, out of 100 people, there will be always 1 or 2 who didn't have a good team, who didn't have a good experience. But 90% of the people say, I loved it, another 8 say it was great, and then maybe 2 or 3 would say, well, maybe it wasn't so good for me. So it's really, really good. We get a lot of thank you letters. The problem is how to inform as many kids as possible about this opportunity, as many teachers, as many parents as possible. And so here's what we've been doing so far, and then we'll brainstorm together and hopefully get good ideas from you, what we can do even better. All right? Yeah, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Vas. Hello, everyone. Actually, we started with X-Culture Kids 2 years ago. And what we did is we sent letters to our best alumni from X-Culture, and we asked them if they want to help us to develop this program. And we had tens of responses, and we created some kind of a group of people who decided to help us. And here's what we did. We actually, there were representatives from different countries, from different cities all over the world. And we asked them to communicate to different schools, to teachers, with the ministries, with departments of education and so ever. And after several months, we asked them. Actually, we were monitoring the situation, but after a few months of this practice, we saw that it's not that efficient as we want it to be. And at the end of the day, what we had is only a few people who decided to be involved in the project, but it didn't happen like we desired to create some kind of community of different schools, of different representatives all over the world, because the question is how we communicate with this group. The group is from 9 till 17 years old, and you cannot go like for instance, with university, you cannot go to a professor and tell him, here is the program, we would like you to be involved in that, and he collects his students, and here you go, they're in. But with schools, you want to talk to teachers, you want to talk to parents, you want to talk to different people who are involved in this school curriculum, and you cannot just like in a few seconds decide if you want to do this or no. So you want to so this process is not that quick as we want it to be. So then we after that we decided to do the second step, the second approach, and we collected, I believe, 200 schools all over the world. That would be international schools with expats in it, and we sent them paper letters, and we wanted to receive some feedback from them, some response. And at the end,
it was literally like a stack of letters like this thick.
yeah.
So I literally printed them and sent paper copies. And yeah, I think there was one school that replied and said we would like to talk more, and then didn't really do much. But it seems like nobody really read those letters. So it just seems like they just go into the junk folder, the junk bin right away.
Yeah, but if we compare efforts and if we compare results, so it's nothing.
Yeah.
Then we like we did parallel work with ads, but ads were not like a primary thing for us. And then we decided to get involved with ads more and more. And for this year, for first semester, spring semester, we did a great campaign, advertising campaign in Facebook, in Instagram, in YouTube, and as well this semester, fall semester, we did so. And as a result, we got almost 700 applications for spring semester, and almost double for fall semester.
Yeah. I actually have some numbers here, so if we want to talk a little bit about advertisement online, I'll get to that in a second. There is one issue that I would like to emphasize, and it's extremely important, and again, maybe you guys will be able to help us resolve it. The challenge with Xculture Academy, with Xculture in general, when it comes to advertisement is, and again, listen carefully, because this is the biggest, like if you can help us crack this problem, I think that will solve all of the issues right away. The problem is that when people see ads online, they pay attention to them on average only for about 1.5 seconds. And I've seen many studies that say that, and we have our own statistics. Facebook gives us those statistics. People literally just scroll up and down, and they see the ad literally for like 1 second, maybe 2 seconds. And they don't really read those ads unless the ad catches their attention. And the problem with Xculture is that it's impossible to explain what Xculture Kids or what Xculture in general, what those are, without spending more time. Like, for example, if you were selling smartphones, as we said, or cars, or, I don't know, coffee, Or even if you were a private school, a traditional private school, it would be easy to explain to the person what you are in less than 1 second. Like if you're selling cars, you would just have a picture of the car and you say car, or you say buy this car. And everybody will know what you're trying to advertise. And if they are in the market for a car, they will know right away that that's what you're selling. And if they're interested, they will click on the ad and read more. And if they're not interested, they will just skip through. With Xculture, it's impossible to communicate what this is in less than probably 1 minute, because it's not an online course, right? It's not a course that you take. It's not a book. It's not a school. It's a project where we will take the kids from all around the world. We will put them in international teams. The teams will be comprised of, let's say, 6-7 people. Every student is in a different country. They will communicate online using Google Docs, Dropbox, email, Skype. They will have one of many international business clients. They will try to develop a consulting project for that client to solve the problems for that client. They will be communicating in English. They will receive some training before and after. It's not a school, it's a process, it's a project. At the end, they will get a certificate. Like when you say all of that, people, even when you have the time, even when you have the minute, people say, what will you do? And now imagine you have to communicate all of that in 1 second or 2 seconds that people are reading that ad. So that's pretty much impossible. And so what we see is that when we get a chance to talk to people, when we get a chance to sit down for a few minutes, the retention or conversion rate, as they say, is almost 100%. So when people express interest in the project, one of the things they can say is, I would like a personal callback, or I would like to attend one of those information webinars, and we do them from time to time. And so people who attend those webinars, or people who call me or I call them back and we talk for a few minutes, they always listen first and they're like, what, can you explain that? And then they always say, oh, I love this. Yes, for sure, we are in. So once you explain what it is, people love the idea, people participate, they're always very, very happy to enroll. At the same time, how do you get them, or how do you take that time? How do you advertise in a way that people give you that time and try to understand what you're trying to sell? So what we see, and I think that's the case for just about any product, but especially for us, what we see is that people are shown the ad, but at the same time, they don't quite fully understand what it is, and they just scroll down without even realizing what an opportunity they missed. And so that's the challenge. How do you advertise in a way that people understand? And if they don't like it, it's fine, as long as they understood and made the informed decision. And that's why we initially thought that it would work best if we go school to school, if we send our representative school to school and talk to those teachers, to those principals, and then they will enroll. But the problem there was, again, just like you have said, we come to the school, the teacher, the principal listen and say, oh, I love the idea. But then they say, I don't know what to do with that. At the university level, the professors have a lot of freedom and they can design their courses the way they want. And so if I would like to add an experiential learning project to the course, I can. A school teacher cannot. So they have the curriculum sent to them by the school district or by the Ministry of Education or whatever that is, and they must follow that script. So even if it's a course like English or geography or whatever else that has some kind of global, aspect to it, it's not like the teacher can then say, and in addition to all of that, children, I will put you in teams with kids from other countries and you will have to complete this project. It just doesn't work that way. So while we did have a few schools that applied and participated in Xculture, in all of those cases, the schools participate as sort of after-school clubs. Like the schools may have like orchestra or may have a basketball club or chess club. So they would create like an international business club. And so there would be a teacher who sort of manages that club, and there would be 10, 20 kids who participate from that, school. But it's not a course, not a part of the kind of mandatory required curriculum. It's just an additional club. So that's the challenge. How do we sort of get enough attention from the potential participants to explain what we have so that then they can decide if they want to do it or not, right? So, yeah. Anything else you wanted to add about advertisement with you? I kind of have the funnel with the numbers. When we did this presentation yesterday, people asked about conversion rates and numbers. So yeah, the numbers better, maybe you will correct me, but so those of you who are not familiar with the sort of the marketing principles, there is something that is called marketing funnel. So you have a lot of people to start with, and you call them suspects. And so the suspects, those are the people who are potentially can participate in your project or buy your product. So in our case, the suspects are basically kids ages 9 to 17, and we tried those ages. Obviously, the challenges, the expectations are a little different for the younger kids than for the older kids. But in theory, on this planet, there are about 2 billion kids that are that age, so potentially they're all suspects. I guess it probably would be more like 1 billion because not all of them speak English, so I guess I would put more like 1 billion. Then the prospects are the people to whom you reach out and you tell about yourself. So in our case, those would be the people that we showed the ads online on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And correct me, so yeah, I put there 200,000 people. Is that a fair estimate? So with what we paid, what was the total number of people that saw the ad? Do you?
For this semester, it's about 4 million.
Oh, 4 million. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was so many. Okay. And so we'll talk about the challenges of that. In fact, maybe, we should talk about prospects a little bit here. So when we started, yeah, we'll tell you more. Tell them how we would specify the audience whom we want to see, and then they would show the ads, not exactly the people we expected, to be shown.
Yeah, actually, when we started with ads, Facebook ads, actually, we decided to target our ads on some specific country. For instance, like at the end, we decided to target it to a region like Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to results, we've seen that all our ads goes to like tiny part of Europe that is not that developed, that is not that probably technologically, yeah, developed. And for instance, some Kosovo, or for instance, some parts of Ukraine that are not that in terms of urbanism are not that developed, and there are not that many schools there, and education is not that very good, and so on and so on. So we decided to target on different regions, but at the end of the day, we've seen that Facebook wants to show all the ads to those people who are probably not that expensive for Facebook to show them. And yeah, this is how we started to focus on specific areas, on specific countries, even cities, and with specific education, or probably people who work in specific areas, ages, and all the other things. Yeah, and
I think the way the algorithm works for Facebook, they're trying to show your ads to the people that nobody is interested in. So because, if you have like a high value target, like, a rich person from a rich country with a lot of experience and stuff like that, everybody wants to advertise to those people. And so when you don't specify very, very precisely whom you're trying to target, they will literally, like you say, okay, I want to spend $20 today or $50 today. And you say, I want to show my ads to people in Africa because we are interested in Africa. English is the official language in most countries. And then you check at the end of the day, and all of the ads were shown to people like in Lagos somewhere. And so they didn't do that, So anyway, you always have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, basically, like if variety is very huge, so the ad goes to a person who possibly will not be involved in project in the future. So yeah, you want to laser focus on this, and imagine if the project is global. So you want to point different spots all over the world, and tens and hundreds of them. So that's not that easy, really.
Yeah, another big challenge, obviously, is that we want people from different countries. Again, if I was selling, for example, again, smartphones, cars, whatever, I wouldn't care where people come from as long as they're paying. So if we have 1 million customers in one city, who cares? As long as they're paying, I'm happy. With X-Culture, we have to have a balanced group. So we would like you to have members on your team from different countries. And so you have to be very careful about assembling an international group. Even if you have more customers in one city, one country, maybe you literally say no to them because you don't want too many of them. For example, one of the big problems we have in X-Culture University is that we have many more applications from the United States than from other countries. And so I do have to say no to many applicants from the United States, because if I accept all of them, we will end up with half of the team being American. And we don't want that. I love America. I love American students. They do a good job. But we have to have international teams. And because we have so many more applications from the US, we just simply cannot accept all of them. So anyway, the ads would be shown to about 4 million people. And of those, again, I may be wrong here, maybe the number is larger, but about 5,000 sort of showed relatively strong interest. So they would click on the ad, they would go to the website, they would spend some time on the website reading more about the project, trying to understand what that is. Although, again, you have more information. So first, how many people visit the website? It may be more, because I think we had some days when we had more than 1,000 people visiting the page, right? So
Yeah.
maybe many more. In fact, it may be more like 50,000.
We had some time. We had almost 20,000 a day visitors.
A day. The problem is, again, so we have statistics how long they spend on the website, and I think again on average it's like 2 seconds or 5 seconds, right?
It depends on the country, and it depends on the project, like preparational part of the project. If it's like at the end of near the deadline, it's more time. But if it's like month or 2 months prior to the event, it's not that huge amount of time.
But I remember I looked at the statistics. So on average, or like 80%, 90% of the visitors, they literally spend like 3 seconds on the website, right? So even though they click on the ad,
3 to 5 seconds, I would say. Yeah.
Well, in any case, it's not even enough to read what's there. So they probably just look at the design, or maybe they look at I don't know, the first 2 words, and then they decide, no, that's not interesting. And again, maybe it is not interesting for them, but I kind of suspect they still didn't quite understand what they were seeing. So again, if you have some ideas for how to make the website look more appealing, more attractive, maybe we can make some changes there, because it looks like the vast majority of the people don't even spend enough time there to read more than 1 sentence. Then we would have, again, this semester we had probably about 1.7 thousand people who applied. But of those, we didn't accept everyone because some applications were not completed. Some applications were done kind of sloppy work. You could tell that something's wrong there. So this semester, we in the end enrolled or accepted 1.4 thousand people to go through this preparation training. So it's about twice as many as last semester, but it's still, a relatively small number. And we had those 1.4 thousand people. I think if I remember correctly, we had 112 countries. Right, I think at that point.
Yeah, for this semester, if we count X-Culture Kids, it's 104 countries.
104, okay.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty global, like there are 187 countries in the world, and we had 104 countries that applied. So that was quite impressive. But then obviously the fun begins. So then you have the selection phase, you have the theory training phase, and so not many, in fact, most of the people don't pass it. So we had only 300 people who have advanced. I think it's a little bit more than 300, but basically 300 and something, who have passed the theoretical training phase and selection. And again, we had a lot of discussions with Yev, with a bunch of professors here, with the coaches, trying to decide how lenient or strict we should be when it comes to selecting students. Because from these 1.4 thousand, we had some who didn't even show up for the exam. So those were easy no's. Like a parent enrolls a kid and the kid didn't do anything, never did the test. The parent wanted the kid to participate, but the kid is not ready. Easy, right? Or we had someone who enrolled, maybe did 1 test and then disappeared. So those are easy. Then it is a little bit more difficult when we had a few people who did all of the tests, but didn't do well on some of them. And again, so here the issue becomes quality versus quantity. So they seem to try, they seem to do their best, but either because they don't speak English fluently enough, or either because they, maybe just, not prepared for whatever reason. So we decided not to accept them because, again, you don't want to have people on your team who are not top-notch, who are not, elite level. And so we decided to be strict here. We did give them another chance to retake the test. So, maybe somebody was sick or busy or who knows, traveling that week. But there were some people who tried and even then still didn't get the results that we wanted, and we decided to be selective and said no. Likewise, we had some people who did very well, for example, on 3 tests and then missed one for whatever reason, busy, sick. Again, we gave them another chance to do it, and we thought, okay, maybe there was something going on one week, but again, some of them didn't retake the test or didn't do well on the test. And so we decided, no, we better keep it small, but very selective. So we only take those who are truly, truly ready, because again, one bad apple will spoil the whole barrel, as they say. One bad team member will make the experience bad for everybody. And now we don't know how many of you will actually do well in the project. So we have some students, who enroll, do everything fine, and then still don't do very well on the team. It's going to be a very small number. Usually we have to exclude maybe 1 or 2 for the whole semester. Usually by the time they get here, they're very, very, serious and dedicated and committed. But there is still a possibility that, somebody may, not really do well. And so when the time comes to graduate, we'll see. So hopefully we'll have all of them graduating on time and everybody will be doing well. But if not, we may have to exclude a couple more if the team is not happy with them. And so that's where we are. One more thing that I wanted to touch upon is payments. And again, the pricing strategy that we have. And again, I don't know if we do it right. So one of the issues here is that we do need resources to manage the project. It's a big project. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of resources for the website management, data management, all kinds of tools we use, all kinds of people who are involved in the project. And so we do need those resources. At the same time, we want as many people, to have this opportunity to participate as possible. And we fully understand that people from some countries may not be able to pay. It can be the reason because, even a small amount of money is a lot for them. The monthly salary in some countries may be, $100. And we have participants from countries like that. How can you even expect them to pay even $10? Third, there are some countries where, people cannot pay because, the banking regulations are such that it's just not allowed to make payments out of that country. We had a few participants from Venezuela this semester, and they had difficulties making payments overseas just because the regulations are such. So how do you do it? Not to mention that there are also differences in income level. And so for someone, maybe even $1,000 will not be too much money. And then for someone else, even $20 is too much. How do you deal with that? So we are still trying to figure out how to do it. But as I said, we do need the resources. And at the same time, we're not in it to make money. But we do need the resources to run the program. And so we do a lot. I mean, we have even those 300 people who eventually survived. It's 72 countries. It's pretty global. It's almost like the United Nations. And so we do it all basically on volunteer help. So we have a few people like the accountant who gets some money. We have to pay for marketing, obviously, things like that. But at the same time, basically, like I'm not paid for this. We have a bunch of professors who help us. They're not paid. We have the coaches who work and help us. And in fact, they pay to participate in the coaching program. So in a sense, we try to manage it as lean as possible with as little, spending as possible. But we still need some money. Like we spent on advertisement, I don't know, it's like a few $1,000s, just that. And, obviously, again, just the logistics of it and everything. So it takes a lot of time. And so at this time, what we do is we charge a little bit more from the professionals and a little bit less from the kids, but we do allow people to apply for stipends. And if they make a good case and when they explain that I cannot pay, come from a poor country or poor background, even some kids in the United States, I can believe that maybe even for them it would be hard to pay. We try to be accommodating here and try to work with them and give them free participation. At the same time, again, we're trying to find a way to come up with some sustainable models of revenue, because again, if we want to do it for years and years, we need to have that stream of revenue so that we can pay people. Like for example, I would like to be able to pay Yev real salary so that he can spend all his time on this and not worry how he's going to pay his bills. The guest speaker professors, we have 8 who now are scheduled to participate over the next 8 weeks. Again, I would be happy to be able to offer them some sort of like an honorarium so that they can do it with proper compensation. It would be very nice to be able to offer travel stipends to the students to go to X-Culture Symposia. So for example, we'll have one next week in San Antonio in Texas, and then we will have another big one in Singapore in June of the next year. We just had one in Canada, in Italy before that. Again, at this time, we cannot offer any stipends. It would be nice if we could, because again, if there is a smart kid from, I don't know, Kenya, Afghanistan, Ukraine, many of them will not be able to come to this symposium just because it's too expensive, and it would be nice if we had those resources. So I'm asking for your help with designing the pricing strategy, the revenue model that would give us those resources so that we can hire proper staff, that we can have the resources to offer to kids maybe from underdeveloped countries. So how much should we charge? How should we charge? We are still not sure how to do that. And it's very important to say here is that, again, what we're doing here, it's very important. It's not only very important for the kids who participate. They get a lot of experience from this, new skills, new knowledge, new friends. They put things on the resume that help them get scholarships, get admitted to good schools, get jobs. We get so many stories about that. And, like really, that sometimes I'm ready to give up. It's so much work. And I'm like, maybe we should just stop. I mean, why? But then you look at all those thank you letters and you think, no, actually what we do matters to those kids, matters to those teachers. So we should do it. But even more so, I think it's actually, and I'm sorry for sounding kind of, dramatic here, but we are making the world a better place. We are collecting a lot of data. As you see, those of you who participate in Xculture, you know that you do all those weekly surveys, and we measure all kinds of things. We measure your cultural intelligence, we measure your emotional intelligence, we measure your leadership skills, your skills as far as teamwork, cooperation. And so we look at all those things over time, and we know, we have the data, we know that your cultural intelligence goes up from before to after. Your emotional intelligence goes up. Your skills in online collaboration go up. More importantly, people see their prejudice go down, so they become less prejudiced against other cultures. And at the same time, their motivation to work with people from other cultures goes up. And the changes are big, the changes are dramatic. And so, I don't know, I mean, we live in this very divided world, the world when we have all those Brexits and, building walls and, starting wars. And I don't know, when you look at the Xculture kids demographics, those are the kids that are very, very smart. They usually go to, some of the better schools. They will be community leaders. They will be politicians. They will be entrepreneurs. They will be business leaders. They will determine what kind of future we will have, our planet will have. And even if they become, let's say, scientists, or if they become, I don't know, thinkers, artists, most of that also requires international collaboration, solving these big problems like, global warming, or, I don't know, interstellar travel. The scientists also have to work with people from other cultures. And so if we can teach those kids how to do it, if we can teach those kids how to do it well, if we can promote the idea of collaboration, of cooperation, I don't know. I mean, I think we will be, as a humanity, as a species, we will be more effective. We will be more able to solve problems. We will be, I don't know, less inclined to start new wars. And I don't know, even if we increase that probability of, prosperity and peace by 1%, even if we decrease the chance of the Third World War by 1%, I think, we will have done something good in this world. So we have to keep going, but at the same time, as I said, we need to find a model that would allow us to hire proper help, to hire proper resources, and more importantly, reach the number of kids who are interested in this project. Without telling them that this project exists and explaining them what it is, I mean, we can have the best project in the world, but, how do you reach them? And so that's where we need your help. And I think I'm going to stop here. I don't know if I missed anything, so we have a couple more minutes if students have any questions. So if you have any questions, you can either type them or, better yet, raise your hand and ask them. And actually, it looks like we have a lot of questions. I was so involved in talking that I didn't really read the questions. So for example, have online schools been contacted? Alexia is asking that. I don't think so. I don't think we found any online schools, did we? So Alexia, if you know about any online schools, that may be a perfect model. What we did though, and actually had some success with that, so in the United States, we have a lot of what we call homeschooled kids. So there are many kids that are so smart that their parents don't want to send them to school because, there is nothing they can learn there. So they kind of learn online from home. And so there is some interest from that community. And so they kind of have the knowledge, they can take the online courses for that. But they're missing the social element, talking to peers. And so we provide that opportunity. So that's something we tried. Sarah is asking, why don't university instructors communicate to schools? They do. And many of them brought schools. And in fact, we even have some university professors who teach at schools as well in some countries, and they participate. But as we said, the school level sort of doesn't work. So when we talk to schools or professors talk to schools, the schools are interested, but it's not something that is easy to incorporate in the school curriculum. And so we thought most of these participants will be school students with teachers from schools. But the reality is such that out of what, like 1.4 thousand applications we got, the maybe probably not even 100 came from schools, right? We had maybe 5 or 6 schools, but most of them would have like 10, 15 students each. And pretty much everybody else are individual enrollments. So parents often would send us letters saying, oh, I love the idea. I want my school to participate. I talked to the teacher. I talked to the principal. They love it, but they don't know what to do with it. So I just gave up. Can my child enroll individually? So surprisingly, somehow it doesn't quite work through schools, or at least not to the point we thought it would. We are thinking maybe if we can have some kind of like inter-school competition where the schools compete with one another and they represent a school. Maybe that way it might work, but again, we didn't quite work out that model yet, so maybe you have some there. Have you contacted teachers associations, Carol? Great idea. No, we have not. And the reason for that is we don't know how to reach them. So if there is a teacher association in your country, if you know how to reach them, let us know. So we definitely would like to work with teacher associations. Maybe there are some teacher conferences, maybe there are some teacher mailing lists, or maybe even professional magazines for teachers, like journals that teachers read or principals read. I think that would be a very good vehicle to promote the idea, but we just don't know how to find them. So if you find anything like this, please do let us know. So it would be very, very effective, I think. Yeah, so we have some questions here. I see that we answered, but yeah, let's stop here. So lots of questions. I hope I answered most of them because I'm reading the questions now. It looks like we covered some of those things in the presentation. The important thing is that if there are questions that we did not answer, or if there are some questions that you will have, if you will have additional questions as you start working on the challenge, just send us an email. We will send you the answer, and obviously we'll work with you. We are extremely interested in your help, and good ideas, if a good idea comes along, we will even implement it this semester. We'll not even wait until the project is over. We will be starting the new recruitment campaign for the spring semester, like literally sometime next week maybe. And so any ideas you give us, we will use them right away. So you will see your ideas implemented in real time. So, all right, well, I think we're going to stop here. So we have a webinar with the coaches in a few minutes. So thank you for your attendance. And yeah, I'll see you next week if you want to come to this virtual office hour. Thank you so much, for being here with us. And yeah,
thank you, my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Together, I think we can do a much better job.